The chosen ones, empaths. Narcissistic abuse is rampant, but it's a shame it's not more widespread, that people know of the suffering that it actually entails. You know, a lot of us suffer in silence. Some of us, do you know how many people are out there that don't even know that they went through narcissistic abuse? Some of them have done hideous things through reactive abuse, which, if you can check out that video, but the narcissist will trigger reactive abuse, and we react, and then they scorn us for it and smear us for it. And so many innocent people who went through years of abuse are in jail now, or psych wards, mental health hospitals, whatever you want to call it. And we endure suffering in silence. It's painful, you know, when it's all fresh. And some of you are in that situation now, like, you know, I just want you to know that I'm there for you. If you have any questions, there is an email in my description box. I'm happy to converse with you by email as well, if you ever want to. I do one-to-one sessions, but I'm saying, if you just got a question, even in the comment section, you can write something. I try my best to respond to all the comments as well. But I don't want you to think that you're suffering in silence, because all of us here collectively, not just this YouTube channel, but other YouTube channels as well, we're all helping and we're all there for you, you know? But there's one thing that people don't mention, and they don't mention the spiritual aspect of the narcissistic abuse, right? You're physically dealing with a devil. A lot of you, I see the current theme in the comment section, all of you know you have met Satan. All of you know that. Like, a lot of you know that you've dealt with the devil by dealing with these individuals. But just don't suffer in silence. And on the flip side of that, right, don't tell people unnecessarily that you went through narcissistic abuse, because it's going to fall on deaf ears, right? That's why we suffer in silence, because when we try and express our emotions or make sense of it, and we still haven't got the whole picture worked out, and we try and express to someone else, could be a family member, could be a friend, you know, even therapists, you know, they don't understand. Do you know how many narcissists go to therapy sessions with an empath, and you know who's looked at like the toxic individual? The empath. You know who's made out to be the problem? The empath. Because science and psychology hasn't come that far in the discovery of knowing it's a spiritual aspect you have to focus on with the narcissism. Yes, we can look at scans of their brain and see they're void of empathy in the prefrontal cortex. We know that. We can see it with psychopaths on scans, sociopaths, narcissists. You can see it on the scans. But what's causing that blockage? It's not proven that it's childhood trauma, because many of you have mentioned in the comment section as well that you endured hardships in childhood trauma and you haven't turned out to be a narcissist. So we can't give the excuse of the childhood being the main factor, right? What we have to say is that there is a part of good in them. It's not enough to overshadow the evil. So we need to just look at them like devils. They're evil through and through, regardless of the little minuscule of goodness in them, right? We haven't got time to sit around and endure a relationship with someone who is devoid of empathy, because they can't pair bond, you know, unless we rip out all their wiring and replace their circuitry and clean up their mind. Like, it's not gonna happen, you know. That's why I said, even when they go to therapy sessions, which is meant to be a rewiring of the mind or teach you techniques to deal with that, they end up ridiculing you and making you look like the narcissist or the psychopath or the sociopath or just a toxic individual in general. But we shouldn't suffer in silence. So if you've got someone nearest and dearest to you, or you reach out to someone online, it can help. Talking to someone who really cares it can help. I made the mistake of telling people that didn't understand what I'm going through. And I learned to just basically speak to God. Because I tell you, God understands every single thing you went through. God understands all of it. Please press the like and the subscribe button. Help your brother out. It will take 2 seconds of your time. Thank you. But God understands all of it. So vent to God. Speak to God. You know, express to God. God will make a way for you. God will make a way for you. And that's not you suffering in silence. It's actually self-therapy. It helps us if we express our emotions to the Most High or to the universe, or however you want to do it. Meditate. You know, for those that don't believe, meditate, relax, think things through, express your emotions, you know. But we do suffer in silence, and not many understand narcissistic abuse. People just think it's a breakup. They just think it's a breakup. They just think, oh, get over it. That was years ago. That was years ago. Get over it. That's what they'll say to us. Get over it. Or they'll tell someone else that they're close to. They'll say, oh look, they're still talking about their ex. Why aren't they over it yet? Like that's how it will appear. That's how people. That's why I say, be careful who you tell, because people do not understand, and you're gonna become the person that is, oh, why aren't you over it yet? Like, they don't understand that a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us, or at least in a slight degree, you know, and major degrees too, we actually can suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. From this abuse that we endured, right, we actually suffer with post-traumatic stress disorder. And I remember shortly after my encounter with the narcissist, when everything went sour and the unmasking happened and the smear campaign happened and I was alone, and I don't know if I read symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder or and everything appealed to me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm suffering. And I didn't even know what to do. Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to speak to. I didn't know what post-traumatic stress disorder really was. And I felt like I'm actually dealing with this, you know? Like, what is this? Like, how do I deal with it? And I'm not saying I had it extensively. I'm just saying that there were subtle symptoms there, and I felt in pain, deep pain. And a lot of us are suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder. So take it easy, yeah? Don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself whatsoever. You have gone through horrific abuse, covert abuse, overt abuse, all kinds of abuse you have gone through with these demonic entities, right? And that's what they are. Even though I just said to you, and I'll backtrack a little bit, even though I said to you that they're not inherently evil and there is some good in them, that's because that's God's creation. We're made up of good and evil. All of us have certain evil within us, but it's up to us to choose of it or extinguish it and eliminate it and cut it out like a cancer and get rid of it. They don't. They indulge in it. They thrive in it. They lust after it. They reside in it, in their evil ways. So that's why I say they don't reside in their good nature. They don't have any good nature left, because the longer they go down this path of destruction, of following demonic entities and indulging in these demonic traits and ways and behavior, the longer and the more they extinguish any good that's left in them. You see what I'm saying? So we have endured a huge amount of abuse. We have to understand that. You need to look in the mirror and you need to say to yourself, I have gone through some horrific shit, right? And, you know, don't try and explain to people who don't understand. Explain to people that will understand. Just look in the mirror and say, you know, you don't have to look in the mirror, but you get my point, right? Just self-reflect and look at yourself and say, I have gone through such abuse, right? And I'm gonna make it out of this. I'm telling you, right, you're going to make it out of this, right? You're definitely going to make it out of this. But the problem with telling people and why we suffer in silence is because people will start to think you're crazy, right? And this is the effects of the smear campaign in some cases left over. And because our name is so tarnished, it's hard for us to even express what really happened. And the truth appears like a lie, and the lie appears like the truth, and we're caught up in this vicious cycle. So try and find someone who understands, or vent to God, you know. And what you need to do is, after that point of looking in the mirror, is practice the self-love. You need to love yourself. God loves you. Remember that. God loves you. The universe loves you. You're an empath. You're a chosen one. You're a highly awakened individual. You're highly enlightened. You have high levels of authenticity. You're loving. You're courageous. You're resilient. You have a unique set of traits that other people in this world do not manifest. And you do. And I want you to practice your self-love and recognize all of those good qualities about you, because they've been diminished through the narcissist extinguishing those, trying to extinguish those and put out your fire, put out your light. They've been trying to make you die off. As I've always said in my videos, the main motive behind the entities that are controlling these is to make us commit suicide. It's actually a satisfaction for the devil if a human being takes their own life and doesn't persist through God's world and actually endure the test, right? I'm not saying it's a weak way out. I'm not saying that at all, because suicidal thoughts is something devastating to deal with. To deal with suicidal thoughts, or to feel that you haven't got it left in you to live, it's a horrible thing to go through. So I'm not calling it a weakness, and I'm not knocking anyone who's done it, because they've ascended. Now they're in the next realm, you know, they're in the next course of life after this world, and hopefully God will understand why they've done it, you know, and the people that force them to do that will face the wrath of karma, right? But I'm not saying, you got to understand that if someone takes their life for a narcissist, it invokes a huge amount of supply for the narcissist. People never understand it, and they'll say, but they need us around for supply. Why would that invoke emotions of supply? Why would that invoke energy of supply? Why would it do it? And it will do it because they will feel sufficed, right? I can live my life onwards, and this person took their life over me. And they're very sadistic, weird creatures. So, you know, that's the best kind of definition I can give of that scenario. But just remember, God loves you. There's people out here that care for you, right? You can reach out to me by email, even if you just need to say, look, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened. What do you suggest? And I'll fire back an email or something, and I'll try and address it in the best way I can in the most suitable time once I get around to it. But just practice this self-love, spiritually, mentally, and physically. Eat well. You know, going for walks de-stresses. Going in nature de-stresses. Enjoy your time alone. Take time out, reflect, and see how far you've come. Think of the dark days, if this is not so fresh anymore, but the days when you couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't get your head around it. Reflect on that. You know, don't reflect on it in a negative rumination way, but reflect on it and say, look how far I've come. You know, reflecting is different from obsessive rumination. Think of the days when you used to obsessively ruminate. Now you can reflect, and you can look, and you can see. And one gift that you've been given, that I mentioned in my videos, is you've been given the blessing of discernment. So with your high levels of authenticity, you're an enlightened being, you're a loving being. You also have that too. You also have the discernment too. Now enhanced, a lot more enhanced. And you're able to filter out the bad and the good. So this message today was just a reminder for you to understand that we do suffer in silence. It's hard for people to understand it. And in reality, I don't wish anyone to go through it. So for those that haven't been through it, they're not going to understand it. But I've been through it. You've been through it. We understand each other. That's where we've got an understanding, you know. Our views may differ in other areas. We may differ even in the narcissism related stuff. But at least at the core and the essence of it all, we have both endured something horrific. We have both been through something that could trigger post-traumatic stress disorder. We have both been through high levels of abuse from demonic entities, demonic creatures, and that's something we have in common. So we're both survivors. We made it through, and I want you to know there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train. And if you want to have some understanding or deeper insight to the ways and the mentality of how the narcissist is functioning now, whether they're with a new supply or they've moved on, I've got several videos on that as well that should help in that area. So anyway, I'll leave the video there. Please press the like and the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate every single one of you that view, comment, like, subscribe. I appreciate you all. Can't express it enough. If you would like to donate to the channel, you can find the details in the description box. And if you would like a one-to-one session, you can find the details in the description box as well. Anyway, I'll be back with another video soon. Peace.